Have you ever thought about buying a home in Hawaii, then felt the whole idea get heavy the second you imagine the mortgage? A down payment can feel intimidating. Monthly payments seem impossible when all you hear is how expensive Hawaii has become. One headline about interest rates is enough to make someone think, maybe I should just wait. For many people, waiting starts to feel like the responsible choice. I've seen that happen more times than I can count. Home ownership still mattered to them, but the first step always felt too big. What eventually changed everything wasn't perfect timing or some dramatic financial breakthrough. It was simply a conversation, not a sales pitch, not pressure to start touring homes, just an honest conversation about what was possible, what was realistic, and what steps actually made sense for their life. That's what I want to talk about today, because many first-time buyers in Hawaii aren't stuck because home ownership is impossible. They're stuck because no one has helped them turn the unknown into a plan. Aloha everyone, this is Kainoa KJ Harrison with Team Wong Hawaii. One of the most rewarding parts of my job is helping someone who quietly believed home ownership had passed them by realize there may still be a path moving forward. That doesn't always mean buying today. Sometimes it's a 6-month plan. Sometimes it's a year. Sometimes they're much closer than they ever expected. The timeline isn't what matters first. Clarity is. Many first-time buyers carry fears they rarely talk about. They're afraid of making the wrong decision, money adds another layer, then you add Hawaii's housing market and suddenly every decision feels bigger. So instead of asking questions, they avoid the conversation altogether. I remember one buyer who had rented for most of their adult life. Buying a home always stayed in the someday category. Rates felt too high, prices seemed out of reach, life stayed busy. Every year there was another reason to wait. But underneath all of those reasons was something much simpler. They didn't know what was actually possible. When we finally met, they weren't asking, can we buy a house tomorrow? Their real question was, I just need to know if this is even possible for me. That's a powerful place to begin because it removes the pressure to make an immediate decision. Instead of forcing a yes or no, we start with understanding. A lot of people assume meeting with a realtor means they're about to start looking at homes. That shouldn't be the first step. Instead, we talk about life. Where did they already feel connected? What frustrated them about renting? How much space would actually improve their daily routine? What kind of neighborhood felt like home? Because a home is never just walls and square footage. It shapes your mornings, your commute, your weekends, your family routines. As we talked, it became clear they weren't chasing the biggest house. They wanted stability in a place that already felt like home. That conversation became the foundation for everything that followed. The next step was connecting them with a lender. For many buyers, this is the part they fear most. The numbers suddenly become real. But avoiding the numbers doesn't make them any less important. It only keeps you guessing. After meeting with the lender, everything became more specific. They understood which documents they needed. The down payment became a real number instead of a mystery. Closing costs made sense. Loan options were explained in plain language. Most importantly, they finally knew what monthly payment actually fit their budget. Nothing magically became easy, but the unknown became much smaller. Preparation replaced guessing. Once we understood the finances, we walked through the buying process step by step. Most fear comes from not knowing what happens next. We talked about offers, inspections, appraisals, negotiations, deadlines, closing. Instead of feeling like one giant leap, the process became a series of manageable steps. Buying a home is still emotional, but having a roadmap gives people something to hold on to. By the time we actually started touring homes, the buyer's mindset had completely changed. Instead of asking, is this house bigger? They started asking, does this home fit the life I want? One property had more space. Another had the location they truly loved. As we walked through both options, it became clear that daily lifestyle mattered more than square footage. Sometimes you don't discover that until you're standing inside the home, imagining an ordinary Tuesday. Where would you park? How would the commute feel? Would your daily routine actually improve? Those questions made the decision much clearer. Eventually, they had to choose between a larger home and a better location. Instead of rushing, we slowed everything down. We talked about what life would actually feel like a year later. Would the extra space still matter if the commute became frustrating? Would the smaller home feel right because it supported the lifestyle they truly wanted? For this buyer, location won. Not because I made the decision for them, but because they finally understood what mattered most to them. One of my favorite parts of the journey was watching their questions change. At first it was, can I even do this? Later it became, does this payment fit my budget? Does this neighborhood fit my life? Am I buying this because it truly fits me? That's what confidence really looks like. Not excitement, not perfection, just clarity. There was still some fear, but fear was no longer driving every decision. Information was. After they became a homeowner, one thing they said has always stayed with me. They didn't wish they had bought a bigger home. They wish they had started learning sooner. Not buying sooner, learning sooner. For years, they assumed the process would be impossible. Once they had guidance, they realized it wasn't nearly as overwhelming as they had imagined. Buying a home in Hawaii is emotional. Prices are high, inventory can be limited, family expectations often play a role. For many people, this isn't just about owning property. It's about creating stability in the place they love. That's why good information matters so much. Budget becomes a conversation. Location becomes a strategy. Financing becomes something to understand instead of something to fear. We don't need every answer before getting started. You simply need to ask the first question. If homeownership has been sitting in the back of your mind, your first step doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to start touring homes tomorrow. You don't need to make any decisions before you understand your options. Sometimes one conversation is enough to help you see what's possible and what your next step should be. That's exactly why I created my home buyer coaching program. It's a place where first-time buyers can ask questions, understand the process, and build confidence before making one of the biggest decisions of their lives. If you're thinking about buying a home in Hawaii, I'd love to help you figure out what that next step looks like. And before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What part of buying a home feels the most intimidating right now? Leave a comment below because your question might inspire a future video. Mahalo for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.